Hello and welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials with Creative Vinyl Designs. Today we're going to be working on a 20-ounce hog that I've already painted white. This has not been epoxied. We have a full image. I'm going to call this my cheat method for the Northern Lights. Everyone's doing this image in glitter, and I'm going to do this on a full sheet of WaterSlide on this 20-ounce hog. So what you want to do before you get started with any type of WaterSlide this size, any type of, it doesn't matter what the size is, when it comes to the clear mat, you always want to seal your water slides so that when you put it in the water, your ink just does not bleed. This particular size, you want to use Plasti Dip. And that allows for the stretch and the pull and the tugging that is going to occur in some cases when you have such a large image. So I did 3 coats of matte clear. Unfortunately, because I ran out of my Plasti Dip, I ordered Plasti Dip online from Amazon and they sent me this. Yes, this works, but it gives you glitter without actually adding glitter. There's like this blue shimmer, which is hard for you to probably see on camera, but when it's under epoxy, it shimmers so beautifully, but it's not enough to ruin the actual image. So hopefully I can get a good video and or picture once epoxy is applied, and you'll see it just adds to it, but it's not enough to ruin it. It's very, very faint. So typically when doing a water slide, if you do not want a glitter effect that's not actually glitter, you're going to want to go with the glossifier, not the metallizer for sure. So let's set these off to the side, and we're literally going to jump right into this tutorial. Okay, remember, 20-ounce hog, modern curve. This has not been epoxied. So I'm going to take the image in the water that I've already got ready for me, and I'm going to put it face down. I prefer to put it face down and kind of push it a little bit because it prevents the roll. If any of you have ever worked with WaterSlide and you put it the other way around, it curls up. I personally do not like when that happens. So I've learned to just place it face down, pushing on it just here or there, a few minutes, and when it's flat, I'll just flip it right over. And now the image is upright. And I continue to push it down just a little bit, making sure it's nice and wet and coming loose from its backing. And I can see the shimmer in this water, and I'm telling you, this is beautiful. But if you don't want that added extra sparkle, then go with the glossifier. But I will say, even on an accident, I was never even going to use that metallizer. And then I thought, you know what? Let's just try it. It'll either work or it won't. And it works. So in this case, it appears my image is already ready. And we're just going to come right to the cup, and we are just going to lay it right on. So if I pull this right off, and I'm going to do a wrap, I come up just a hair short of where I really want to be. So this is where we're going to kind of finesse it just a hair, because this is not going to require that much tug and pull. And you want to make sure it stays wet, guys. Not soaked, but wet enough that you can get your pull. And don't worry so much about your bottom end, because that's going to overlap because it's wider at the top than it is the bottom. So we really just want to focus on tugging just very gently at the top, making sure everything stays at the top and the bottom where you want it. And just pull very gently. So once we're touching, that is exactly what we want. So now we're going to focus on getting any and all wrinkles out. This is where you can get a paper towel. I prefer just using my hands, to be honest. Let me back you up. I feel like I'm just bumping you. Let me just back you up just a smidge. And then you just keep working it and making sure it stays at the top as well as this back side, because we're going to cut this seam, as you will see soon. But for right now, since we are perfect on the back side and we're trying to keep this at the top, we're just going to work out any and all of these creases.
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head, because there are so many things that I left unsaid. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that is not reality.
Again, once it starts drying, try not to manipulate it too much. Just watch this seam right here. You really want that touching, if not overlapping, as much as possible, because that's going to be our guide to go straight down this back side. And as this continues to dry, I'm going to keep watching that seam and just keep getting it closer and closer and keeping it touching. Okay guys, welcome back. Okay, so I went ahead and trimmed the top and the bottom off. And never mind this, because I think I'm going to add black glitter to this bottom to dress this up, because this looks terribly tacky. I'm not really too worried about that for tutorial purposes. And then the top. I did go ahead and trim off the top for the most part, just to see if this cup was ready. What the remainings that you see here at the top, I am not worried about that, because I can easily clean that up after epoxy. So I don't have any special gadgets and gizmos to put onto this tumbler to trim this backing off. I am literally just going to take painter's tape and I'm going to stick it on one end of my measuring tape, and I'm just going to push it on there. As far as measurements, guys, that doesn't really matter at this point, because the main goal is to get right at that seam and pull that down. So I just want to make sure I have this lined up right where it needs to go. And on the inside of the cup, I'm just pushing the painter's tape down. And it's just going to help me hold that in place. I'm not trying to go out and spend $1 billion on something that I can, you know, do myself, which we need a bigger piece. So just going to stick that on the back of that like so. You want to be really careful, because your water slide is still wet. Not wet, but it's not fully dry either. So just stick it right inside the cup like that. And you just want it to hold it there just a little bit. And then you want to come down, lining it up. Measurements do not matter at this point. All we're wanting to do is get it held, unless you have another hand close by. This is just the way that I do it. And this way I can hold with 2 fingers here or more, usually 2, just so that I can easily take my X-Acto knife right down this center. And just be really careful when doing so. Just go straight down. As straight as you can. Take your time. There's no need to rush this process. Go all the way down. And then just lift your tape up. And then just find where you overlap, and ever so gently just grab that. So I didn't get my bottom. And then you just want to pull that right up. And you can still see how it's a little wet. And see how I have a smidge of a gap? You can very, very, very gently close that gap because it's still moist underneath. Ugh, don't do that. Okay, so I need to get what's underneath this top layer because you can clearly see the overlap. You can see how it's darker here versus here. So I have to lift this up and get that piece from underneath. And you want to be really careful when doing so. Keep your water handy. And then just lift that right out. And then just lay it back down just like so. And there's your seam. Tweak it if you see a little bit of a gap. Just gently, gently, gently pinch. Pinch it very, very, very gently. I am not a freak about my seams matching up ever. I don't want to stress about something like that because the biggest stressor is just getting the WaterSlide all over the 20 ounce to start with. Thank you so much for joining me with Everything Tumbler Tutorials with Creative Vinyl Designs, and I hope you guys were happy to see a 20 ounce modern curve full sheet WaterSlide. Until next time, be easy.